Good evening. Welcome everyone to Rotor Talk Live Season 3, Episode 3. Mr. Ron Braun, how are you this evening?
Doing well, Bill. It's chilly. It's cold here at the Jersey Shore. I don't think we got to freezing today. We had some wind, so it really felt cold. And I'm dealing with a little bit of a head cold, but I'm doing better than most people, anyways. But I did get up to some bad news this morning. I had an email waiting for me on the shipment status of my Zino 2. But
what did that email say?
We all got it.
I think we all got the same email.
Yeah. Basically, it said that nothing's going to be shipping out until after the end of the Chinese New Year period, which is going to last for, it says it's going to start the 23rd and last for about 10 days. So I'm taking a wild guess now that, let's see, today's the 21st. You probably got a 50-50 chance at best of having your Zino 2 February 21st. So on that note, I'm going to throw it over to my partner in crime, Marcus Crawford. How are you tonight?
Pretty good, Ron. So I'm just getting over that cold that it sounds like you're just getting started with.
I've had this cold for 3 weeks. It just changes a little bit every day.
Yeah. Well, I'm finally feeling like a human being again. But so today, I finally got out my camera and made a new video. Now, unfortunately, we do not have flying weather here. It's been raining. Temperature's not too bad in the 40s, but rain every day, so difficult to get the drones out. But what I did do, and I know I'm behind on it because I was at CES and then kind of down with a cold, but I finally did my update to that firmware 0400 on the Mavic Mini. So I filmed the whole update process and walked through all the changes there. So hopefully I'll get that thing edited and get it published soon.
And what's the highlights of that firmware update? What does it bring to the Mavic Mini that we didn't have before?
Funny you should mention that. I do
Marcus
have a piece
is
of
ready.
paper. So, of course, the big one is unlocking geozones, right? The blue geozones. And then they added a feature to disable takeoff when GPS is weak and when you don't have good light. So obviously the drone would be in ATTI mode then. And if you think about it, that makes sense for a drone like this because it's a starter drone for a lot of people. And they may not know how to handle that if that happens. And then they also did the same thing. If it needs a compass calibration and you don't have decent light, it's not going to take off either. And it's going to prompt you to do a compass calibration, and makes sense for exactly the same reasons. Now, they adjusted the flight altitude and distance in payload mode. Now, I did a lot of research, and I don't know if you guys know, and I'll bet you Lauren knows in the chat here, but I don't know what they changed it from what to what. I have no idea. But, payload mode is when you have the cages on there or something else attached to the drone. And then they add another one that I did some research and I couldn't figure out was they added a warning prompt for battery cycles. And I'll bet you Lauren knows what that one is too. But I did some research and I couldn't figure that out. But they also reduced the noise during self-diagnostics and powering up, like it was noisy to begin with. I'm not sure. And then they fixed an issue where linking was abnormal in some regions. So I presume there were places that they had problems linking the RC to the bird. But yeah, other than that, and of course we had a couple of firmware, app updates. We're up to 1.0.6 now on both iOS and Android. So those are the highlights, Ron.
Thank you for that, Marcus. I'm not sure whether I've done the firmware update yet. Bill, have you did the firmware update to your Mavic Mini?
No, I have not. And, I'm glad Marcus kind of enlightened all of us because it was a big mystery at first when they came out with it. What all was it entailing? Nobody really was talking about it at all. And I'm like, okay, why isn't anybody talking about it? Because it's been like the Mavic Mini, bar all the drone talk from CES, has been the most talked about drone the last couple of months. And why isn't anybody talking about the update? Well, I am glad Marcus enlightened us tonight. And I think that's going to be one of the things that's going to be on my agenda for tomorrow to do. However, flying may be another issue, because tomorrow here it's going to be not so sunny Florida. We're going to wake up to frost tomorrow morning here. And is so eloquently put by my great friend on Twitter, Ken Dono, Original Dobo, Florida, you're drunk. Okay. That's the best analogy that I've heard. Okay. Oh. And Ken always can nail it, and he nailed it right there. Big time. Okay. Some of the other things is I do have some updates on some things about CES. I know we're still, CES was over a little bit ago, but I did get some more. We're probably a few months out from seeing the Evolve 2. Okay. I did get some information on that today. So stay tuned. As soon as I do get more information on that, they still are taking pre-orders. However, it is going to still be a few months out. So kind of bear with them on this. I think, they've done their homework, and I'm anxious to see, when it gets in reviewers' hands, what it's going to look like.
Bill, what is the cost of the pre-order?
The cost of the pre-order, I think it was, I'm trying to remember, I think it was $50, Ron. And if you did pre-order it, they were giving you a $159 extra battery for free.
Nice. Now, Bill, is it true you can upgrade from the Evolve 1 if you have the Evolve 1?
Yes, there's a program in place with X Dynamics to do that. You would probably have to contact them for details. I don't know what the details are on that, but
it sounds like they got a lot of good things going on there with that pre-order, that battery, the upgrade from the Evolve 1. I mean, I like a lot of the sound of what's going on over there.
Yeah, they've really done their homework this time around. I mean, they really took to heart what, especially, because it was tested by some great people. Billy had it, Ken Dono had it, Captain Drone Steve had it. I know Ken Heron had it, and it was really put through its paces. And they really value the input that they got from those that tested them. And I know one thing I can tell you is this: I know last year I talked to Ken, and he said what really impressed him was he thinks they may have some of the best customer service ever, because the controller that he was sent, and now, this thing is like almost $1,000 in and of itself. It was defective. It wouldn't charge. Next thing you know, he had one next day air shipped to him. I mean, it was obviously a test unit, but they got it out to him ASAP. No questions asked.
Wow.
Got that out to him. So,
yeah, that's excellent. They probably rival Gearbest in customer service.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, and by the way, I want to share this with you. We just talked about on the Zino 2, and this is kind of like we're doing kind of like a little bit of mixed bag of things here, and then we're going to get on to our big topics for the night. But what I did with Gearbest, and it was funny because I'd seen somebody post this afterwards. There was something in there about for waiting patiently. If you decide to wait, we'll give you extra points or something like that. So I went out and I asked him, I said, well, how about a battery in a case instead of points? And well, obviously I'm not going to hear back until after the Chinese New Year is over, but hey, it doesn't hurt to ask, that's
the squeaky wheel, Bill.
That's right. That's right.
So if everybody that pre-ordered a Zino 2 gets an extra battery in a case, it's Bill the Drone Reviewer they can thank for that.
That's right.
And we'll give you where you could send the money to his fund.
That's right. Well, you know what? And you know what? That's a good idea, Ron. I think we're going to do? I think we're going to have a fund, and we're going to raise enough money to buy a Zino 2, and we'll give it away. I think we ought to do that. I think that. What do you think, Marcus?
It's probably not my cup of tea, Bill, but yeah. I'm just being honest.
We'll explore that. We'll explore that. Let me welcome some of the people here tonight. SCX Extra, SCS is here. Lauren's here tonight. Don's here. Josh is here. Tony Faz is here. Carmelo is here. Johnny Drone Flyer. Doc Murdoch. Let's see. DeMarco's here. Who else have we got? Okay. I know there are a lot of other. Stephen Ewing's here. Hubsan Choice is in, Oracle, Miata, and Brandon Rain. Okay. All right. I think we covered a lot of topics here already. And you probably saw, obviously, the title of tonight is DJI Mavic 3, DJI Mavic Air 2, and more. And I'm gonna tell you right now, this is what we're gonna hear is, it was kind of a dry year last year for DJI as far as drones were concerned. I think we're going to see 4 or maybe 5 DJI drones this year. Now, that's not all consumer, okay? Now, the first thing that we're going to start off with here, and I'm going to share my screen. Let me go ahead and bring this up. Now, the first thing I'm going to start off with, and this is going to be DJI's first entry in this year. Let's go ahead and get that up. Okay. DJI Matrice 300 specifications and ZenMuse H20 hybrid thermal camera. Now, this was reported to Drone DJ, Hey Kesteloo, and if you're not aware and you're not as familiar with the Matrice series, okay, these are probably most typically used. This is very popular with like law enforcement, search and rescue. It's also popular for line inspections, industrial type of applications. But a couple of the things that, and I'm going to go ahead, there'll be a link to the article in this description. Now, one of the things that it did improve upon, they were talking about, is in terms of, let's go ahead and take a look here. I know it's talked about it here. Okay, the battery and the waterproofing system, they had some issues with that, and they did definitely improve that. There is definitely it's IP44 here. They're talking about 50 minutes of flight time with a maximum payload. There's also a new thermal camera with it, and all the specs are here. So, and obviously, when you're talking about something like this, you're probably looking $30,000, kind of a range, as far as that's concerned. But I think this is great. This is a step up from the 200 series. The 200 series had some issues, especially with the battery and getting wet, and they had some actually falling out of the sky. I know I'd seen some articles about that. So that's going to be good for DJI, because I think that's a good seller for them, and I think it's going to do very well. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts about this?
I'll let Marcus go first.
Yeah, I mean, it sure is intriguing. You look at that 50-minute flight time. I mean, that's a whole nother class of drones that is honestly well beyond my experience. But when you talk about payload and the things that they can do with those things, it's fascinating stuff. I mean, Bill, those are a drone like that is like a $20,000 drone, right, or more?
Yeah, you're probably, by the time you get that thermal camera and system on there, you're probably looking about 30 grand.
Yeah.
I got to be honest with you, Bill. I don't really follow the enterprise drone market, so I don't know how these specs compare to the old one, because I just want to be brutally honest here. I don't follow it that close. I mean, it sounds amazing. I'm sure if I was an enterprise, a 107 licensed pilot and made money enterprise, I'm sure this would be right up my alley. But as a consumer flyer, it doesn't really. I mean, I just don't pay much attention to it. But it looks impressive.
No, no, that's good, Ron. No, I think it's worthy of note. This is going to be, apparently, from what I'm hearing, end of February is when this is going to be released. So when there's more information, I'm gonna put some information out there about this. But this is like I said, this is a great drone for law enforcement, first responders, and industrial type applications. So stay tuned. When we get some more information about that, we're going to pass this on.
Can I ask take a look? One quick question before we move on, Bill, about the enterprise drones from DJI.
Yes.
Do they ship on time, or are they late like the consumer drones to market?
No, they're very much on time. That's okay. One thing that I can say.
So,
Marcus.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Bill, I just wanted to point out Lauren's comment there about the problem with that DB60 battery is not welcome on aircraft.
Right. That is very true. You have to see, and that's one of the problems with the Matrice series is being able to transport them on aircraft. And right now, with the Matrice 200 series, you really can't. So it's like it's getting them from point A to point B more often than not has to be by ground,
Yeah.
unfortunately, because the
And Stephen Ewing also had, I think, a very pertinent comment there too. I'll let you read it.
okay. Plus the deed release for your house. Yeah, pretty much. That's Stephen. That was kind of spot on here.
Bill,
right,
did we get many people in chat to have the Matrice series of drones? That have them and use them.
I've only seen it once. Well, actually, I've seen it a couple of times. Once when I was down at Florida Drone Supply, I got to see it, and these drones are very impressive. I mean, it's and they're big. I mean, they're really big. They're, when you look at the picture, I mean, it kind of looks a little deceiving, like it's the size of a Phantom 4. It's not. It's way bigger than a Phantom 4. I mean, these things are very big. And
there were a lot of industrial drones at CES. I mean, the crop dusting type drones, and and let me tell you, they're bigger than what you think. Let's see them in a picture, and it's one thing. When you see one of them in real life, I mean, rotors that are probably a foot or a foot and a half long, and then motors, that big around, and they're definitely for carrying some cargo. Some of the ones that they had there at CES for crop dusting, I mean, they had big tanks underneath them for spraying pesticides and fertilizer, etc. It's heavy duty stuff. And the cool thing about some of it, at least, and I'm not an expert by any means, but just some of the stuff that I saw at CES is you can automate so much of it. They can send them out there. They can actually look for weeds and spray individual weeds, and it's amazing the stuff that they can do with them.
Yeah, and we're gonna get to the heart of the matter here in a second. We're gonna talk about the Mavic Air 2. Now, this is probably going to be the next drone to come from DJI. All right. And, and we'll get into that in a minute. Now, Marcus, you had a Mavic Air, right?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, one of the things, I want to talk about some of the pain points of the original Mavic Air first before we talk about the two. Number one is it sounding like a freaking hornet's nest. Okay. I don't know anybody who doesn't say that it sounds like a hornet's nest, and it's just loud. I mean, it's just in your face. Okay. That was probably the first thing. The second thing was the range of the Mavic Air. All right. Now, I did not experience, and a lot of people experience, some connectivity issues with the Mavic Air. I know I did not, in my testing, I had it for 2 weeks. I did not experience any connectivity issues with the Mavic Air. How about you, Marcus?
No, neither did I. But let me add that I don't think I ever really flew it that far. Of the people that were talking about connection issues, I never took it out that far. But it was an awesome piece of equipment. Took amazing video. It had the full DJI bag of tricks, all the automated flight modes, etc. The only downside I could say about that drone was the noise. That was it. I loved the thing. And honestly, the only reason that I sold it was because the Mavic 2 came out.
Okay.
Bill, wasn't that the first DJI drone to have APAS on it?
Yes, that is correct, Ron. That's a very good point. And that was unheard of at this point on a consumer drone. Having that type of a system on it, and actually watching the video. Now, when it premiered in January 2017, maybe, I'm trying to get the date right. It may have been 2018. Yeah, January 2018 when it appeared. I was mesmerized watching that video. I watched it several times over, watching that. And when I had a chance to test that out, I set up 2 garbage cans out in the front, and I flew straight towards one, and it leapfrogged over one, and I flew to the other one, and it went to the side on that one, and then it continued going. And that just blew my mind. I mean, it just was, you know, seeing how that system works and being able to test that and getting that was incredible. And one of the things that I really also liked about it was the size, the portability factor of that. That was incredible. That really said a lot. And it also was DJI's first drone where they featured internal storage in there, 8 gigabytes of internal storage.
That's
And
true.
if you remember, okay, and I posted a video because the original gentleman was asked to take his down, but he let me copy it and repost it. Was they had actually, the drone that he got in internal storage, was recording, and it was recording in the DJI factory. So it recorded about 2 or 3 minutes inside of one of the factories in Shenzhen where they were making the Mavic Air. So everybody was scrambling when they get their Mavic Airs to look on internal storage to see if there's anything in there. A lot of people did that at that point in time. So what can we expect from this new Mavic Air, the new Mavic Air 2? I would say some of the things, we're going to see a better camera, probably with a umbrella processor, okay? We're going to see probably 360-degree obstacle avoidance, okay? Adding those sensors on there, I think that's an important thing.
You mean just like the Mavic 2 series?
Just like the Mavic 2 series. I think we're going to definitely see new motors and new ESCs. They're going to be quiet. It's going to be quieter. I mean, that's a given. That's an absolute must on that drone. You know, I think we're definitely going to see improved camera angle. I know because, you know, a lot of times, you know, when you would do the sport mode in the Mavic Air, it would start to almost have a downward pitch to it when it would do that. And a lot of times when you were shooting, and, you know, and a lot of people say, you know, well, why are you filming video when you're in sport mode? I said, why not? You know, that's what, you know, my drone, you know, when I get a drone up in the air, I want to be able to record video no matter what mode I'm in. Okay. And, you know, it would have a tendency to do that. And I would say they're going to be working on trying to get that leveled out, especially in sport mode when you're doing something like that. We're also going to see, I think, definitely a better battery life. Now, as far as, you know, the connectivity, you know, a lot of people, I've gotten a lot of questions already about this, and I wanted to get your guys' input. You know, they're asking me if OcuSync 2.0 or a form of OcuSync is going to be on there. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on that, and then I'll give you my opinion.
Well, that'd be awesome, Bill, if they did. But I will also say that if they can get Wi-Fi as good as what we've seen on the Mavic Mini, I think that would be sufficient. Mainly what I would want to see is, just like you described, better battery life, so you get a little bit longer flight time, quieter, or just even change the tone, but hopefully quieter. And you know that they'll be able to do that. You know, 4K 60 it would be nice to have. 360 obstacle avoidance would be nice to have, but I don't know that is an absolute must. I would say that the biggest thing, and one of the commenters, Scott Nadu, was asking about price. I don't know what that's going to be, but I think price is important. It's going to need to hit that, I'm going to say, under $1,000, between $800 and $900, and it will be a home run. If they kick it up into the over 1,000, it's going to be a tougher sell.
I agree.
Marcus makes a great point. If they add OcuSync 2 to this drone and they bump the price up to $11.99, $12.99, and it pushes close to the price of the Mavic 2 series and the Mavic 3 series that'll be coming later on, that's probably not a good it's probably not a good selling strategy for them. So back to Bill's original question, I think the biggest knock on the Mavic Air when it came out, of course, the quietness of the motors and props, and that'll be the easiest thing for them to fix. That'll be a guaranteed fix. That's an easy one. And probably the other two things were the you know, the battery life and the range. But people have to remember, any drone that's considered a Wi-Fi drone without a special transmission system like a OcuSync 2 or what are the Light Bridge or whatever, you're not going to get that, you know, 5-6 miles or whatever. And I don't think DJI wants to put it in this drone. If people that need that 6 miles of range, they want those people buying the Mavic Pro series of drones.
Oh.
They don't want them buying the well, we'll say tiers. We have tiers now. The Mavic Mini's tier 1, or if you want to do it backwards or whatever, tier 3. You know, the Mavic Air is going to be, you know, tier 2, and then you know, the Pro series will be tier 3 in the Mavic line, and they don't need the middle one having one of the keynote features of the top of the level, the Mavic Pro series. So I'm going to say it doesn't, just because, again, of the is going to make the thing cost too much, and it's going to intrude on the higher series. Now, I totally agree. The camera, I mean, it's already good cameras. They don't have to do much improvement, like Bill said. Put the better processor, and it already has 4K 60. So you don't have to do a lot to make it the best camera in its kind of price range, and you know, good enough that, you know, anybody that's not a professional, that the camera will be fine for them. So, but the battery life, and you know what, we talk about battery, but that's not that easy to improve. I bet you they don't get you more than 5 minutes extra. I bet you that's the best, without changing the body. I bet you the best they could do is give you another 5 minutes of flight time. But but I think the key thing is we got to keep that price point right, because there's people moving up from the bottom. We talked about the Zino 2. There could be a FIMI X8 2 or whatever, and those drones are somewhat matching the features, and they're coming up from the bottom. So they can't move that top end price too much, in my opinion. I mean, I know there's DJI loyals, they won't buy anything else, but it's a lot of people that are shopping by price for features or whatever. So that's my thoughts, Bill. What are yours?
Okay, well, a couple of great comments. I know Dan Drone Worship. It can get hot if you start boosting the signal. Absolutely, you can burn out a Wi-Fi card in a heartbeat with 24 dB or better, and he's right on that. And that goes in line with a comment that Cliff had. OcuSync will need a cooling fan too and a bigger battery. So, you know, plus, you know, Marcus also brought up the point, and good points, Dan, and good points, Cliff. You know, the other part of this is it's also going to cost more. And Marcus brought that up, and Ron brought that up as well too. You know, they want to keep this, and I think this is paramount. Of course, we have absolutely no idea on pricing on this drone and what final specs are going to be. But if they want this drone to do well and to sell well, this has to be $999 or less. I mean, and I'm talking about with including a fly more kind of a kit, because in order to appeal to people, and like Ron said too, is, you know, if you're looking to if you want more than 3 or 4 miles in range, and everything, you need to step it up a tier. You need to step it up to the Mavic Pro type of series to expect to get something like that, or even more. They still have the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0 kind of series. So I think that's where we're at. What we're hearing now is April or May kind of a time frame for this. So stay tuned. You know, we get any more updates on this, I will definitely pass them on to you. All right.
Before you move on, let me ask the key question. So say this Mavic Air comes out and it has the specs that we just talked about. It checks off all the boxes. Would either you or Marcus be hitting the buy button on this?
Possibly.
Marcus.
Possibly.
I would say if it's under 1,000, yes.
Yeah, that's that. You know what? I would say that too, Bill.
You know, because, you know, and here's the thing, and this, I'm glad you brought that up, Ron, because I know Marcus is saying, you know, he's going to kind of wait on drones that are over $1,000, you know, making a decision with, you know, with the FAA remote ID proposal, which is a good point. If this is under that $1,000 threshold, to me, that signifies, yes, I will definitely, that's something that I'll definitely set aside for money for this, because, you know, it'll be a step up. It'll definitely be a step up from a Mavic Mini, but it won't quite be where the Mavic Pro series is. So, okay.
And I'm gonna throw real fast. I won't be a customer for this because, you know, having the Mini and having the Mavic 2 Pro, I don't need something in between.
Right.
I really don't. If I really want to get the best photo and video quality can, the Mavic 2's going with me. If I'm just casually flying, the Mavic Mini's going with me. I don't really need something that's kind of in between. Just my thoughts.
Absolutely.
Bill, sorry, I cut your.
No. We're gonna segue to the drone that everybody wants to know more about, is the Mavic 3.
Ooh.
Now, originally, and I'll kind of, I'll kind of go back to maybe a little bit of history here. You know, it was originally scheduled to be at the end of January, right? And a couple of things have changed and pushed back that date to summertime. Okay. And we'll go over the first thing. Now, the first thing is Skydio 2. And DJI saw Skydio 2 come out, and they said, time out here. We need to beef up the obstacle avoidance on the Mavic series here. So that's one of the things that they took notice of. But something they took even more notice of, and it sent a lot of shock waves through their headquarters in Shenzhen, is the Evo 2. All right. With the 8K and the 6K with a 1-inch sensor. The thermal, not so much, but those other two, yeah. And they are in a very affordable type of a price range for consumers at $14.99 and $17.99. So, it really kind of had a lot of reverberations. And DJI says, we need to take a step back here. We need to take a look at this. And, one of the things that right out of the gate that impressed me with the Mavic 2 Pro was the quality of that camera. And Ron saw it firsthand before he had his, when we were at North Reddington Beach. I mean, that low light processing from that camera was it was jaw dropping. I mean, Ron, we got to see it in the viewfinder and looking at it, because Ron compared his original Mavic Pro with that, and he was like, wow. Okay.
It seemed like you were capturing twice as much light as I was as the sun was setting.
It was amazing, Ron. It really was. And then when I got it home and I downloaded off the SD card, I'm like, holy cow. The light was just insane. It was just so awesome. It really was. I can't describe it.
I mean, we were on that beach until it was almost dark.
Yeah. I mean, we pushed the outer edge of the envelope as far as FAA rules are concerned, but we were still legal when we were flying. But the amount of light that sensor lets in the Mavic 2 Pro was off the charts here. So, one of the things that I can say is this. All right, we're definitely going to see with the Mavic 3, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this too. In fact, you know what? Let's go to you guys first and get your thoughts on what you think you're going to see on the Mavic 3.
Well, do you want me to start, Ron?
You go right ahead, Marcus.
So the Mavic 3, just as you alluded to, Bill, it absolutely has to have a better obstacle avoidance because of drones now, like the Skydio that just came out. There's kind of an emphasis on that. But I also say that with that, if you looked at Billy Kyle's last video, where he compared some following functions in his car with the Mavic 2 and with the Skydio, he was able to get further away with the Mavic 2 and get the bigger picture, and it followed his car down the road just as well as the Skydio did. Now, he had it up higher where it didn't have to do all the obstacle avoidance, but his point was this: it got a more cinematic view of things than the Skydio did. So that is probably something that DJI could exploit with the Mavic 3. If they could improve it where it had some better AI that could do some of that, where it could maybe do what both the Skydio and the Mavic 2 did, do it very reliably. One of the other things that Billy pointed out is that the Mavic 2, it only does obstacle avoidance in follow me mode at low speed. When you put it into high speed mode, it negates the obstacle avoidance. So I'm willing to bet that DJI is going to focus on improving that AI and improving that. That's going to be a big thing. And of course, I'll leave the cameras to you guys. You guys know way more about that stuff than I do. But no doubt, if you have a competitor like Autel that's putting out an 8K camera, I would think that DJI will feel compelled to do something like that. Of course, they've got that Hasselblad name, which is awesome too. So, will you see things like greater flight time, greater range. They always tend to push that envelope a little bit, but that's just my guess right off the top. The other thing that you always have to understand about DJI is they will put a feature in there that we haven't even imagined yet.
Nobody saw it coming.
Yeah, and when you see it, you will have to have it. That's what DJI does. And they will also perhaps future-proof it with regard to FAA rigs.
That would be interesting.
Just that's kind of my 2 bits. Ron, what do you got?
Well, before I get into my my wild predictions here, I want to refer back to Billy's video when he's following the car. Remember when I followed the Jeep on the beach? I don't know what I did there for Billy, and I didn't do anything but tap the button. Well, when your car comes on your screen, you tap the icon of the car. It's a person, it's a plus symbol, and a car, it's a symbol of car. I didn't do anything but tap that car when it drove into my screen, and it followed that height. I didn't adjust that height, and it didn't follow nearly as low as it did Billy's car. Now, maybe it made a difference that Billy was driving his car and I wasn't. But
that's a good point. I didn't think of that, Ron. You nailed it. I'm not sure.
My follow on that Jeep looked, it wasn't herky jerky. It followed it. I hate to use the word cinematic, but it followed it smoothly enough. I mean, I didn't see any jerks until I stopped at the end because it went followed over the real road.
So, Ron, you know what I'm thinking? If you're thinking what I'm thinking, we're going to have to do some experimenting.
We are. I mean, that was, with our own cars, because maybe it's a difference. But anyhow, if nobody see my video, they don't want to talk about it. So let me jump into what Bill asked. Marcus covered a lot of good points, and I'll jump, since he didn't talk about the camera much, I'll jump right to that. He mentioned we had the Hasselblad, but the biggest complaint about the Mavic 2 Pro, probably one of the top 2 complaints, it didn't have 4K 60. So this one has to have the 4K 60. And the second biggest thing was that the Hasselblad, the one sensor, it took kind of full resolution, and it had the 10-bit color, and the edit pictures, everything worked perfectly. But when you went to the video side, you didn't get the same video quality out of the one sensors you did on the Phantom 4, the Phantom 4 V2.0. I think every Phantom Pro, I think it just has to be the V2. So they'll probably fix that too, to make the video a little bit better off that Hasselblad one sensor. But I mean, they nailed the pictures. So that'll be a few camera improvements, and like Marcus said, well, incremental improvements. It'll have 5 minutes more battery life. It'll go a little bit further. Now, just run the scorecard. The Evo has better battery life, I think 40 minutes versus the lower 30s. They'll probably even that up. I think the Mavic 2's range is still further than the brand new Evo. So they still got them in that. So they may improve that, but they don't have to improve it a lot, because they're already ahead. They're already future-proof themselves a year and a half ago on the Evo 2. So, but like Marcus said, there's probably a feature that they're going to drop that nobody else has, whether it's a mechanical feature or whether it's a software feature. I can't really guess on that, but I will be, again, like I said, they're probably going to have to do more of the incremental changes because they want to future-proof themselves. The Mavic 2 Pro is so good to me now that I don't think I need another Mavic. I don't think I need a Mavic 3. I don't know what it can do that mine isn't doing for me now, except small little incremental things. But keep this quiet here. Bill, can you tell us a little bit about that Mavic 3 beta you have behind you? I know you're under NDA, but can you just tell us 1 or 2 things?
It's out of sight. Okay, we're good. We're good. It's definitely out of sight here. Some of the things, and great points, both Marcus and Ron, fantastic. One of the things that I think, and this is something, some people have mentioned, but not a lot here. I think this is going to be real important. I think we're going to see it may be IP44 rated waterproofing.
Didn't think of that.
And I think this is something that's been talked about for quite a long time in this series. And I know there's a lot of people that take them up when, in inclement weather, especially if it's snowing outside. And one of the things I always caution people is, remember, when it's snowing outside and you bring that inside after coming outside, that's water, and that could get into places. Okay. I would say we will probably see, my guess is some type of waterproofing on the Mavic 3 series. The other thing I think we're going to have an option here is, the follow me function is going to really rival what you see with Skydio. I think they're really going to work on that. I think that's something that they took to heart, because they delayed the release initially because of that, because of what Skydio 2 had come out with. And I also think too, what you're going to see is, and I don't know if it was Ron or Marcus mentioned, Billy had talked about, getting all the obstacle sensors on or only in certain modes. I think we're going to see more availability to turn all of those obstacle sensors on, say if we're like flying, maybe in different modes. I think there'll be options to be able to do that, because I think, if you buy a drone with 360-degree obstacle avoidance and it's only available in certain modes, okay, that kind of defeats the purpose of it. All right.
Hey, Bill, can I insert on that point?
Go
for
for
just a
it.
minute?
Go for it.
Well, just I wanted to get it while you were talking about it, and that is, we all know that there's times that we want to get really close to something and we don't want that obstacle avoidance. And one of the things that I did is on the bottom of the remote where you have the buttons you can program, I programmed one of those to turn off obstacle avoidance on my Mavic 2, just in those instances when you're trying to sneak up on something.
Okay.
And obviously you're really flying the drone at that point and being very careful.
Right.
Just a point to make.
That is an excellent point there. And I think one of the things that we're going to see, obviously we're going to see and I'll call it a quantum leap, so to speak, is in the camera. All right. And Cliff brought up a good point, by the way. He said that's not a true 6K camera that the Evo is going to have. The Evo 2 said it's a 5.4. He said it's not. And Cliff pointed that out in the discussion. So if you guys want to take a look, and Cliff, thank you so much. You have incredible knowledge, and we're going to get you on as a guest again, because your knowledge, we could probably talk to you for 3 or 4 hours. The knowledge that you pass on to us is just off the charts. Anyway, getting back to that, the camera. Okay. Now, one of the things that everybody talked about was, 4K, 60 frames per second. All right. What's on, I have that on the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0. I think we're definitely going to see that. I think we're definitely, we may see an increment up to maybe like a 6K or an 8K options available to do that with 1-inch sensors. But I would say this: expect to pay a premium type of price. And I'm going to say it's going to be more than the Evo 2 type of price to get that kind of processing. And I know we covered, in detail, and I've done some videos and we've talked about it here at length, Ron and Marcus and I, about the, constraints of shooting in 6K and shooting in 8K and watching it and everything. So, a lot of that, we're not going to go there right now. But I'm going to say you're going to see a definite improvement as far as the camera is concerned, because what would it be, without them? Initially, you're definitely going to see 4K 60 frames per second. I would say you're definitely going to see probably another option for maybe a 6K with a 1-inch and maybe an 8K with a 1-inch. Okay. That would just blow everybody out of the water if they would do something like that. Now, one of the other things, and just some basic things, I think runtime is going to be improved. I think we're going to see better runtime as far as that's concerned. I think one of the other things that we're also going to see too is, we're talking about, a surprise, something that, and Marcus put it so well, DJI thinks ahead of you. It's something that you wouldn't even think of to want, and they get you to want it. Okay. It's something that they do really well. And who knows what that's going to be, but I think they always do very well at being able to give us something that when it comes out, we want it. Okay. Because after we saw it, it's just like, you got to have it. It's like one of those things. What's that going to be? I don't know. Okay. I don't have an answer for that, but I think they're working furiously on this right now. And I think, you know, the more patience that we have with getting a Mavic 3 out to market, I think the better that drone is going to be. And I think DJI has definitely learned its lesson as far as releasing drones. And I'll go back to when the original Mavic Pro was released. If you remember, in October 2016, that was a big pain point for a lot of people. A lot of people didn't get theirs until December or January. I ended up ordering mine in January and I got it the next day because they were in stock, believe it or not. And, you know, when the Mavic 2 release came out, you know, because I know Marcus ordered his, got his right away. I ordered mine, got mine in 6 or 7 days. I mean, there was no delays. You know, one thing that they did, however, is, you know, they learned from that. They acquired more distribution centers on the East Coast, Southeast, Midwest, and not just in California. So they're able to get product quicker in the hands of consumers as far as that's concerned. You know,
Bill, can I ask you a question at this point?
Yes, you can.
This would be called the Ask Bill portion show, and I'm gonna give you a two-part question. You can answer which either one you want first. Okay. Do you think that DJI will follow the same path as Autel did and have removable cameras on the Mavic 3? And the second part of the question is, if none of the new Mavic 3s have a zoom camera in them, will they keep the Mavic 2 zoom in the line as it is for somebody that wants a zoom? I mean, they'll discontinue the 2 Pro when they come out with a 1-3, but will they keep that Mavic 2 zoom in the line if they don't you know, make a 3 zoom?
Good questions, Ron. First of all, yes, they are definitely going to have interchangeable cameras. I mean, you know, the Evo 2 by itself, that what you see right there, for the 3 models, it's not going to change. The physical body itself, the battery, the propellers, ESCs, components, everything's going to be the same. And DJI is going to follow suit. They're going to do the same thing. It's going to be user serviceable, meaning just like as Rick Smith did on his video, blindfolded, change the camera out. I mean, it's going to be very simple to do that in a very easy process. Pricing of those cameras, that's a whole nother story as far as that's concerned. And that's a good question about the zoom, Ron. You know, and I think just to digress just for a second, the whole reason that the zoom camera came into existence was because of a drone that you and Marcus have, the Anafi. Okay. DJI saw it had a zoom camera out there and they were ready to go. And because the original release was the middle of July in 2018. In fact, it was right around my birthday. And then they postponed it till the end of August. And the reason it was postponed was because of the Anafi coming out. And they wanted to get a zoom camera. And their answer was the Mavic 2 Zoom. All right. What are they going to have? Ron, I think they're going to have a camera module out there for that. I think, you know, when the Mavic 2 line is done, it's done. You know, it'll still sell. People will still buy them right now. There's still a sale going on through the 31st, and there's some great prices out there right now. So if you're interested, definitely go out there and take a look. But I think when we see the Mavic 3, you know, we'll probably see, it'll probably call it a Mavic 3 Pro and with camera module options. And I think the zoom will be a camera module option. I think that's definitely something that we will see as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. And just to finish up a little bit, we're talking about these removable cameras and maybe explain why that's a good thing for the consumer. You know, like if you start off with just a consumer and at some point you decide to get your Part 107 and fly commercially, then you don't have to go out and get a whole nother drone that has the heat sensing FLIR type camera. You could just upgrade what you already have. And that would be a big boom to consumers who are going from hobby to pro. Wouldn't you agree, Bill?
Oh, absolutely.
Rather than go out and get a whole new drone system, when you don't need a new drone, you just need the drone you have to have the camera on. You're already familiar with flying your current drone.
Hey, Bill and Ron, just to touch on something that you talked about a few minutes ago, Bill, with regard to still the obviously the Mavic 2 is still an amazing drone. And if you want to buy a drone, you can get a great buy on one. And trust me, it takes amazing video. Ken Herron just did a video, maybe it was today or yesterday, where he compared some video that he took with his Phantom 2 and then his Phantom 4 V2.0. And yes, you could tell a difference, but was the difference so huge that it blew your mind? You know, not so much. And that was the point that he was making is, you know, get the drone that you can afford now. You're still going to really enjoy the video that it produces.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, there was an important thing, you know, even for an older drone, that it was stable. You know,
Right.
and that too, he had the one with, you know, the 3-axis gimbal, and it was stable. A drone from 3-4 years ago with stabilized video still was good video. It's just that the older drones, before they put in stabilization, they're the ones you don't want to go back and look at anymore.
Right.
Just to kind of close things up here, you know, there were a lot of great comments in there tonight. So suggest you guys kind of go through the chat again. I know there's, you know, Cliff brought up a lot of things, and Cliff, I'm gonna email you, and we're gonna get you on soon. Okay, I definitely want to do that. All right, what else are we gonna see in 2020 from DJI? All right, you know, one of the things, and this hasn't been talked about a lot, but you know, it's been very much rumored. The Inspire 2 series is, I'm gonna say at least 3 years old, if I'm not mistaken, and you know, it's in sore need of an update. You know, and a lot of people have talked about that. I would say this: don't be surprised we would see towards the latter part of the year a new an Inspire 3 series come out. You know, that's a drone that's definitely for professionals. That's a drone. Definitely, you know, you definitely need, you know, if you're going to look to equip yourself with that kind of a drone, you're probably going to spend upwards of about $10,000 by the time you get batteries, different camera options, a case that's as big as probably some of your cars to fit it in. It's definitely something I think that's going to be on DJI's radar this year. You know, there's a lot of things that need to be improved. With that,
Bill,
one of the things.
Can I stop you just for a second?
Go for it.
You know, can you explain to, I mean, just briefly to the, you know, the viewers and me, you know, you know, we got DJI's 2 enterprise level drones, the Matrice series and the Inspire series. You mentioned what's the difference? Who is the Matrice for, and who is the Inspire for?
I would say, as far as the Matrice series is concerned, Ron, you're going to see. I would say the Matrice series is for first responders, you know, firefighters, industrial type of applications. I think that is going to fit itself very well. It's been shown to be extremely useful in search and rescue and looking for lost and found people with that thermal camera. The thermal camera that's on there, right, that they're coming out with is a step above what they have out there now, and what they have out there now is fantastic. What you're going to see the Inspire 2 or the Inspire 3 series, that's going to be for professional filmmakers. All right. You know, the Inspire 2 is a very fast drone. You know, it's very agile. But one of the things that I found out, and this was real interesting, and I'm going to go back to Billy and Ken did an unboxing of the Billy's Inspire 2. It was real interesting. You know, one of the things that I found out, and I didn't know until Billy talked about it, was, you know, updating the firmware on the Inspire 2. It's kind of, you know, I don't want to call it like the original Zino, but it's more than just, you know, you're updating the controller and updating the drone itself. There are different firmware updates for different parts of the Inspire 2. For example, you know, when you get an Inspire 2, you get not one but 2 controllers. Okay. You know, the second controller is for someone to control the camera. So, you know, both of those are going to need to be updated. There's updates for the battery. There's updates for, you know, I'm not 100% familiar, but remember, you know, there's a landing gear system on the Inspire 2. You know, the battery system that's on there does have battery warmers on there. So, you know, it's a lot different than just what you see with your, you know, the drones that we're used to. So I would say the Inspire 3 is something that we're going to see towards the latter part of the year, because it's been really talked about. And I think a lot of people, and probably at that point in time when they come out with it, you probably get a great deal on an Inspire 2. one of the other things is that DJI, there's probably going to be, you're probably going to see some agricultural drones that come out. I know Marcus had talked about that earlier when he was with it at CES. You know, that's done very well for DJI, and the programming capabilities of some of these agricultural drones are off the charts, and being able to do things that even crop dusters couldn't be able to do. And it's all going to be done autonomously. You know, and be able to program it with artificial intelligence. It's just off the charts as far as that's concerned. Now, they also talked about, and this was something, a drone that is on the drawing board right now. Whether or not we see it in 2020 or 2021, that remains to be seen. But there is talk that DJI is coming up with something new in the consumer space. What it is, there's been absolutely no discussion. That is about all that I know, that they're working on something. There's something on the drawing board. Where they're trying to fit something, I have absolutely no idea, you know. And I know people are going to say, they're going to say the Phantom 5. And I said, you know, I say the Phantom 5 line is, you know, the Phantom 5 was something that was once a thought, but it's not a thought anymore. I think when with the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0, when it reaches its end of sales life, I think that's it as far as the Phantom series is concerned. But our good friend Rick Smith said the opposite. He sees a Phantom 5 coming out sometime. So who knows as far as that's concerned. Gentlemen, your thoughts on like an Inspire 3 and some of the other things that DJI might come out with?
Well, you know, the first thing I thought of, Bill, when you started talking about the Inspire, it made me remember what Billy was telling me, that Inspire would fly at about 60 miles an hour. Let me tell you, if they would come up with a Mavic that would fly that fast, I love speed on a drone. And when you're kind of in some of the wide open areas that I'm at, having a drone that could fly at those kind of speeds would be awesome. So I just thought I would throw that out there as another point for what, you know, for a future Mavic.
Marcus, I got a name for that drone, the Mavic 3 Pro S, and the S stands for speed.
Boom! There you go. There you go. Yeah.
I cut you off. You were moving on something else.
Well, just that is exciting about the Inspire 3, because I know it's nothing that I would ever deal with, but for guys like Billy Kyle and for Ken Dono that do that kind of work, I'm sure that would be that'd be a big deal to them. So, I mean, DJI, you know, they cover the spectrum from top to bottom. I mean, if you look at that little Tello, the Tello is the best of those little fly inside your house drones, right? And all the way up their line, they make the best one of whatever that is. As far as a new product, Bill, if you were going to tell me that they're working on something new, I would be willing to guess. Of course, it's going to be camera related somehow, would be my guess. 360 is getting so popular, and then action cams, obviously now with help me with the name, Ron.
Skydio?
No, the new 360.
It's the 360R.
Yeah. That I can't think of the name of the company, but the one with the new modular little action cam.
Insta360.
Insta. Yeah, Insta. Yeah. There you go. Anyway, no, there's no question that, you know, DJI won't be far behind in that technology. I mean, especially with their relationship with Hasselblad, I could absolutely see that they could build a 1-inch sensor action camera that would probably be off the charts with stabilization. Because now, you camera guys, help me, the bigger the sensor, the easier it is to get it to do electronic stabilization, right?
Well, the more Ks it shoots in, like, say, for instance, you could shoot in 4K, and then the image stabilization could take it down at 1080p, and it'll be real stable. Now, if you had an 8K camera, it could stabilize it and down to 4K, and it would look real good, but it would be in a high resolution. So, you know, the more, you know, and that bigger sensor, of course, could get more 8K or whatever to stabilize it down to 4K.
Well, my point is that I don't own one, but everything I've seen with the Osmo Action is awesome. and they are not going to let companies that Insta360 or even GoPro for that matter get ahead of them in that regard. So I'm quite sure we'll see something new on that front.
Yeah, good thoughts, Marcus.
Well, here's one of the things that and this is what I kind of want to wrap this segment up, and then we'll get a closing thoughts here. You know, I was very intrigued. You know, I was in the chat last night, and I love Brian Singleton. He's one of my favorite people. He's as honest as the day is long, and he will tell you exactly what you don't want to hear sometimes. But he is. That's why what makes him one of my favorite people. Plus, he's from Pittsburgh. That definitely. That's one of them. And also to my buddy Josh from Pittsburgh. Okay. We got to, I got to get these Pittsburgh guys mentioned.
The Pittsburgh connection.
That's right. That Pittsburgh connection. Three Rivers, the three guys here, hopefully, the three of us will definitely get together in Pittsburgh sometime, because I want to do some video with those guys. Anyway, I think, and what reminded me of this was Brian's 360 on top of his Mavic Mini. Okay. And what, Marcus brought up a great point. That 360 market is just exploding right now. And I see them coming up with a 360 camera, but also with an option. Okay. Unlike what, what's the company? The 1R, is that it?
Insta360, yeah.
Or Insta360.
The 1R is a 1-inch sensor camera.
Yeah, that one, the one that module that they had that would fit on top of the Mavic Pro and the Mavic 2. Well, the Mavic 2, it interferes with the GPS. I think what DJI is going to do is they're going to have an Insta360 camera, and they're going to have a module that will be able to put on top of your Mavic 3 series and not interfere with your GPS, and be able to take that up. And imagine what you can shoot with that. I mean, that would definitely just be incredibly off the charts.
Bill, that could be that new drone they're working on. It could just be a specialized drone, just that has that in it.
With 360 in it. Yeah, that's very, very.
We got the name already. The Mavic something 360 drone.
That's right. Ron is head of marketing for DJI. Don't let him kid you. Okay.
Yeah, we should start our own drone company up with these ideas. Hey, before we get out the door here, you talked about being a dry year and the drones for DJI. And, I was thinking back the other day, and I'll make this fast. Yeah, it may have been a somewhat dry year for DJI with the drones, but think of all the great products DJI released last year, Bill. The smart controller came out in the beginning of the year, right? Mm-hmm. In the spring, the Osmo Action came out, and these are all the smart controller is the best controller in the business, probably. The Osmo Action came out, and it probably leapfrogged GoPro for 6 months till they came out with their new camera. And then in the summer they came out with the 360 system for the FPV flyers, and according to Ethan Mitchell, it's the best in class in what it does now. And at the end of the year, the Mavic Mini came out, and that was best in class in what it is, small, affordable drones. So I'm going to say, really, Bill, it was an incredible year for DJI. It just wasn't all drones, but they released 4 landmark products last year. Bill, would you disagree with any of that?
No. They also released the RoboMaster too.
Well, that I didn't include that with the landmark products. How they messed up there, I know it's good for programming, but if they would just came out with an RC car that looked like a new buggy or a truck, and it had, incredible FPV camera on it, and maybe you could put goggles on it, whatever, and see real good, that would have sold. That would have sold. People want a car that looks like a truck or an off-road vehicle. Marcus, would you agree with that?
I don't disagree, but I have to tell you, I'd not seen one in person until going to CES, and they had a big racetrack thing set up there, and it was fun as heck watching them have those battles with the RoboMaster. I don't know if it would be something for me, but I have to tell you, I sure enjoyed watching it happen.
Huh.
All right, gentlemen, closing thoughts for tonight.
Well, my closing thought is, who in this panel is ordering the Mavic 3 as soon as you can pre-order it or whatever?
We kind of knew that, Bill.
I'm going to take a wait and see approach. I'm not going to throw my hand up now. I'm not going to throw my hand up, but here's my next closing thought, and then I'm throwing it over to Marcus. If you guys walk into Best Buy next month and there's the Autel Evo 2 sitting on the shelf calling out your name, would you grab it and then go cancel your Zino 2 order? If it's still not here by then? Say it's the middle of February and you still haven't heard another word from Gearbest, and that Evo 2 sitting on the shelf at Best Buy calling your name out.
So let me answer first, Bill. So Ron, for me, the answer is no, and I'll tell you why. Because flying a drone like the Mavic 2 Zoom is probably already at the limit of my skill set, and so that Evo, it's intriguing. I like it. I think it's cool, but it's probably beyond what it probably wouldn't bring anything more to the table for a flyer like me than what I already have with my Mavic 2. Whereas on the other hand, the Zino 2, hey, it's $400, man, and it's going to be fun to fly. And yeah, I mean, does it have everything the more expensive drones have? No, but it's still going to be a riot to fly. So I'm hanging in there for that Zino 2, even if we don't see it till June or July.
Good answer, Marcus.
Ron,
Bill?
are you done, Ron?
I'm all out of questions.
You're all out. Okay. Did you have any closing thoughts?
That was my closing thought.
That was your closing thought. Okay. All right. Here's mine. Okay. Just for first of all, I want to say what a fantastic chat we had tonight. I've been watching you guys. A lot of excellent points out there. Just absolutely fantastic. First thing, I'm working on trying to get a couple of guests, so stay tuned. I try to get some great people to have on here, so look forward to that in the coming weeks. We're gonna have some great people on. I think it's important to also make mention of the fact, I kind of wanted to close a little bit on this note. I did see Russ put out, he spoke his response, and it was almost like a Twilight Zone type of video to the FAA remote ID proposal. It kind of made me feel like I was in the Twilight Zone watching the 7 minutes. And Russ brought up a lot of good points. And not to detract away from anything that Russ said, because everything that Russ said was fantastic. For me personally, I want to kind of condense what I'm going to say. And I think, for me personally, this is a reminder to everybody to get out there and do that. First of all, kudos to Russ for all the legwork that he does on this, especially with the rules and, the mountains of paper that he prints out to go through everything. You do fantastic work on this, Russ. But for me personally, my version is going to be succinct and to the point. And I think for me, that's how I'm going to approach it. And this is just a reminder. Okay. March 2nd is going to be here before you know it. I know we're not even at the end of January, but be thinking about what you're going to say and be articulate. Okay. And one of the things that Russ also pointed out in a tweet, I follow him on Twitter, was he's seen a lot of cutting and pasting as far as the comments are concerned. Guys, don't do that. Okay. The FAA knows that. They're going to see that out there. Okay. That's one of the things I can't emphasize enough. Come up with your own thoughts. Come up with a 2 or 3 or 4 good sentences, put it on a Word doc, put it on a notepad, go over it, spell check it, proofread it, have somebody else look at it, and then put it out there, because these are the kind of responses that we're going to need. And even Russ's response is great. Okay. He did a great job with that. But for me, I'm going to be probably 3 or 4 sentences. I want to get in and get my point made. And I think, all of us, no matter what we do, if we're articulate and we're clear and we make our point, that's what we need to get out there, and Russ made an excellent point with everything that he said. He's spot on with this. So, I definitely wanted to make mention of that fact here. So, that's it for tonight. I want to thank my outstanding co-hosts, Mr. Ron Braun and Mr. Marcus Crawford. We know that Ron there's an escape hatch for Ron right behind him. So in case he needs to bail out, he can do that in any time right now.
You never know.
That's right. That's right. That could happen at any time. You know, like I said, stay tuned. We're going to have some great shows coming up. And I also want to thank, you know, Ron and Marcus too. You know, I filled in a couple of times on ZinoNation. It's my privilege to do that. You're going to see much more Zino too here. You know, when we get ours in.
Maybe.
Patience will be rewarded. Okay. And that's one of the things that I want to say is everybody's patience will be rewarded. I'm really looking forward to it and looking forward to this process of getting it and going through it. So with everything said, remember everyone, it's a great day to fly. Thanks so much and have a great evening, everybody.